Our brains and senses act as strict biological filters. They can only process a tiny fraction of the physical world around us, effectively blinding us to the true, unfiltered scope of the universe. But as our technology advances, it reveals an unsettling projection. Advanced intelligences could eventually possess the tools to construct entire, fully simulated universes from scratch. But the immediate logical counterargument is scale. If our current understanding of physics is accurate, modeling the exact atomic interactions of trillions of galaxies would require more computing power than exists in nature. But a simulation doesn't need to render the universe all at once. It can rely on a render distance loophole. To fool a subject, the system only needs to actively generate the immediate environment that subject is looking at right now. The vast space behind them remains an empty void. This trick scales directly down to the microscopic level. The chair you are sitting on right now doesn't need quadrillions of atoms buzzing inside it at all times. It can be completely hollow. The system only has to populate the internal cellular structure the exact moment you decide to slice it open or put it under a microscope. Because this localized rendering is so incredibly efficient, the hardware requirements drop drastically. A creator doesn't need to physically simulate an entire universe. They only need to successfully trick a human consciousness into believing it is standing inside one. Based on a logical proof formulated by philosopher Nick Bostrom, if 5 specific historical and technological assumptions prove true, our reality is a mathematical illusion. Assumption 1 is that consciousness is ultimately a complex mechanical process. If you map every physical interaction between the synapses in a human brain, you can perfectly replicate those operations with digital code. Simulating a single second of human thought takes roughly 10 to the power of 20 operations. To run all of human history, billions of lives over thousands of years simultaneously, demands a machine capable of 1,000,000 trillion operations per second. Assumption 2 requires that technological progress continues until post-human civilizations build megastructures capable of this scale. Theoretical architectures like a Matryoshka brain would physically encase a star in billions of orbiting processors. By capturing the total radiation output of a star, this structure secures the exact energy threshold required to run millions of entire simulated human timelines all at the same time. Assumption 3 dictates that these advanced civilizations must actually survive long enough to build these stellar engines. Life must bypass severe existential barriers. A species must avoid nuclear annihilation, survive catastrophic climate shifts, and prevent rogue technological experiments from wiping out their population. If a civilization manages to avoid self-destruction and constructs this stellar-scale hardware, the physical capability to simulate our universe undeniably exists. Assumption 4 assumes these post-human civilizations, armed with godlike computing power, actually possess the desire or scientific motive to run ancestor simulations in the first place. Trying to comprehend the motives of a post-human species is like an ant trying to understand the logic of an amusement park. The reasons they might choose to build these simulations are entirely incomprehensible to us. But if they do have a reason, Assumption 5 kicks in. Because a stellar computer offers practically unlimited processing power, any civilization choosing to run simulations will logically run millions or billions of them at once. This visual comparison illustrates a staggering mathematical consequence. For every single biological human living in base reality, there is an exponentially multiplying cascade of trillions of artificial, simulated human minds. These simulated beings are programmed not to know they are simulated. Because of this ratio, the mathematical odds of you being the original biological entity are practically zero. If these advanced beings exist and simulate universes, the sheer mathematical density of digital minds makes it a near certainty that our current reality is entirely artificial. Realizing your personal existence, your memories, and your entire world might just be lines of digital code carries a bizarre and terrifying existential weight. However, many scientists reject this framework entirely. It remains an untestable thought experiment, reliant on grand assumptions we cannot presently prove. Even if we are a projection, that discovery does not actually alter the day-to-day mechanics of the human experience. The joy you feel, the suffering you endure, and the relationships you build remain subjectively real and deeply meaningful to your conscious mind. The physical substrate those experiences run on doesn't change their impact. Since we cannot escape or verify the system we live in, the only rational objective is to maximize the quality of our localized lives and hope the underlying hardware continues to function uninterrupted.